If this continues, it will be the death of college basketball. Because college basketball, listen to what I'm saying, Coach, this has no effect on the allure of college basketball during the season. But March Madness, the madness of March, owns sports for that 4 to 5 week period beginning somewhere in March through the early part of April. Owns sports.
A few moments later.
What is the appeal? What is the allure? Anybody has a chance because of Cinderella. That's what gravitates you.
Alert! Stephen A. Smith decides to become Stephen A. Myth. Now he's saying that the death of college basketball will occur sooner rather than later. Wow. Just wow. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about ESPN declaring Cinderella runs to be over in March Madness tournaments. At the current moment, there are no mid-major programs in the Sweet 16. It feels like NIL and the transfer portal have contributed as factors to limiting Cinderella runs. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So, here it is. Are Cinderella runs a thing of the past when it comes to March Madness tournaments? I'm going to say no to this question. I know that the popular answer to this question right now is yes, but that would be overreactionary. I believe that Cinderella runs will indeed be coming back to March Madness sooner rather than later. However, it would be ignorant to say that NIL and the transfer portal have played zero role in the decline of interest in March Madness. Why is that? Because Cinderella runs are what makes March Madness great. However, when you don't really have Cinderella runs occurring, it certainly makes the product worse on the basketball court. Why is there no Cinderella run in today's college basketball? It's because all the mid-major players decided to go ahead and transfer to the big schools. When you have those situations happening, it is hard for a mid-major program to develop talent at any level. We don't have teams like St. Petersburg going on runs in the March Madness tournament anymore because those players have to go ahead and get their money, which is obviously the correct choice for those players to do financially speaking. I'm talking about as a fan. When you see guys taking the money and moving up to the big programs in college basketball, it's going to have ripple effects on everybody else. While everybody is celebrating NIL and the transfer portal, you have to remember that mid-major programs do not necessarily have the proper funds to last at the college level. When we talk about sustained success, we don't have teams like Loyola, Chicago making the Final Four anymore because they can't develop talent for years. It takes years to build chemistry for a basketball team. However, when you have players entering the transfer portal on a yearly basis, it is tough to create a culture where you have the same players on those rosters for 4 to 5 years. When you don't have that kind of experience and chemistry with one another, it's going to be difficult for underdog teams to win. There's a reason why Arkansas is the only double-digit seed still alive in March Madness. But would anybody actually call Arkansas an underdog basketball team? I know I wouldn't. Any team that is coached by John Calipari is not an underdog basketball team. That is not a Cinderella run. Yes, they're a 10 seed, but they're a big basketball program. Arkansas has been pretty good under the watch of John Calipari. He's done a great job turning around their program. I got to give him a lot of credit for the success of Arkansas basketball. However, nobody is thinking about Arkansas as a mid-major program that is coming out of nowhere to make a magical run in March Madness. Arkansas is in the SEC, which means that they are a big-time college basketball program. I also want to show you guys this clip of Jay Williams talking about how NIL led to the decline of Cinderella runs in March Madness. I found his takes to be rather interesting. I don't agree with everything Jay Williams said, although he certainly had solid points. Roll the film.
NIL is the death of mid-major Cinderella runs. And I think it still can happen, but I think it's going to be more of a rarity, Greeny.
Because?
Well, there's going to be more of a rarity due to the fact that I think now we're going to see a lot of players that are playing for the Colorado States, that are playing for the McNeeses, that are playing for the Drakes, that are going to get poached by mid-level Power 4, Power 5 conferences, right? And you're going to see teams in the middle of the pack of the Big 10, the middle of the pack of the Big 12, see these players and say, hey, we'll give you 4X, we'll give you 5X what you're earning at your mid-major conference. And when I talk to mid-major coaches, the consistent complaint I always hear from them is retention. We can't hold on to players because these Power 4 schools are just clipping them and taking them away from us. And that's why I think you're seeing chalk as much as you're seeing right now as we get to the Sweet 16. You're not seeing any mid-major left. You're going to see the big boys. And I think that's going to be the case moving forward.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Yes, NIL led to the decline of Cinderella runs in March Madness, but it's not just NIL. It's the transfer portal. It's about the ability to develop chemistry for years. You think about how all these mid-major programs had players playing for their program for 4 to 5 years, while you had the big programs having one-and-dones as college prospects. You think about teams like Duke, where they were able to get the best recruits, but they weren't able to create any continuity whatsoever. However, with the new system in place, those guys that were playing at mid-major programs, as soon as they show out in March Madness or whatever conference they play in, they go ahead and hit the transfer portal and get the money, which I can't really blame the players for, because we all know that 99.9% of athletes would do in that situation. It's just common sense. Anytime you get a chance to make life-changing money, you're taking that deal 10 times out of 10. However, it's just not good to watch from the fan perspective. As a fan, I want to see teams go on magical runs. I want to see teams like UC San Diego be able to go on Sweet 16 runs. I want to see teams that nobody has ever heard of go on magical runs in March Madness. If March Madness is entirely predictable, then what is the fun of March Madness? I'm not saying that I hate watching college basketball. I'm a fan of college basketball, but I'm saying as a college basketball fan that fans would be better off if we saw mid-major programs going off on major runs. We need to see teams that come out of nowhere and make magical runs that will be memorable for years to come. If you're the NCAA, you have got to go ahead and regulate NIL in the transfer portal. There has to be a one-time transfer limit rule. If you don't have a one-time transfer limit rule, that's how you're going to have a guy playing 3 schools within a 4-year stretch. That is entirely unacceptable. When you have guys making 6 figures in NIL and you can't even criticize the players, that's an issue. If you criticize the players, those players could just go ahead and hit the transfer portal. The coaches in college basketball have no more control, and it's just all about the players. When you have that kind of product, it's going to cause the product to get entirely worse. That's why March Madness is no longer the best tournament to watch in all of sports. I've been incredibly bored watching March Madness. The games are just not as fun compared to previous years. There's just not as many compelling stories. March Madness is all about inspiring stories. There's no longer inspiring stories to look at in March Madness. There's only 1 seed lower than the 6th seed that has made it this far into the Sweet 16 tournament. That number needs to change in future years. Let's see what happens with that, though. Stephen A. Smith and Jay Williams certainly had interesting points. I don't necessarily agree with why they came to the answers that they did, but they don't necessarily have the wrong answers. ESPN certainly has a point, but it also doesn't help when you have 7 SEC teams in the Sweet 16 round. When you have that kind of number, that tells me the schools that have the most amount of money are winning. It's no longer about the foundation. It's no longer about the culture. It's all about who has the most money. Whoever has the most money is going to have the most amount of success. That's the world we live in for college athletics, especially in college basketball. So that is why Cinderella runs are not a thing of the past when it comes to March Madness tournaments, although NIL and the transfer portal are certainly factors that have led to the decline of Cinderella runs in March Madness. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @DustinNashTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinNashTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinNashTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.